Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, the show opens with our MC Taro Sakamoto, a highly respected hitman, seen coldly marching through enemy territory. Spotting several men firing at him, Sakamoto nonchalantly deflects the projectiles, dashing through the men only to dispatch them one by one. As Sakamoto heads deeper into enemy lines, he continues to brandish his skills, feared by every gangster, but also admired by every hitman. One day while shopping, Sakamoto ran into Aoi, the love of his life. Having fallen in love, Sakamoto quit his life as a hitman and got married to Aoi only to help give birth to Hana. Now living the life of a family man, we cut to the present where Sakamoto runs a convenience store, but outside a blonde kid states he's finally tracked down Sakamoto. Hard at work, Sakamoto watches as a kid draws a target on his store's sliding doors, asking for a free juice box if he hits a bullseye. With Aoi and Hana watching the boy miss, the boy asks for another go, accidentally spilling some of his calligraphy ink on a businessman that enters the store. Annoyed, the businessman prepares to punish the boy, but Sakamoto steps in, scaring the businessman with his sheer aura. Sakamoto had prepared to assassinate the businessman with a pen, but luckily no violence was needed. But everyone suddenly notices a blonde boy in his store. The boy compliments Sakamoto's readiness to assassinate the businessman, personally introducing himself as Shin the Psychic, but Sakamoto thinks of incapacitating Shin with a single blow to the head. Sensing his demise, Shin reassures Sakamoto that he's here to talk, sitting down only to confirm that Sakamoto had indeed given up on his hitman life. Seeing Sakamoto with a round body, Shin reminds Sakamoto he was once the legendary hitman, begging Sakamoto to return to his duties. As Sakamoto slurps up some instant noodles, Shin chooses to smoke to relieve some stress, but in an instant Sakamoto splits Shin's cigarette into two, reminding Shin they're in a no-smoking zone. Realizing that Sakamoto hasn't lost his touch since he's retired, Sakamoto is suddenly called by an older man for a favor, making Shin wonder if Sakamoto is only disguising as a civilian. Having reached the older man's backyard, Sakamoto instantly gets to work cutting down a tree. Next, Sakamoto is asked by a lady to help feed her picky daughter some vegetables, managing to use a silver spoon to feed her. Finally, Sakamoto sees two boys fighting over who gets to play with a ball, choosing to split the ball into two with his bare hands, solving the issue. As Sakamoto takes a break, Shin realizes Sakamoto is a handyman for the whole town, praising Sakamoto for concealing his identity so well, but Shin still thinks Sakamoto has fallen so far from his legendary status. Heading to his car, Shin notes how it's only been 5 years since he's seen Sakamoto, still admiring Sakamoto for being so awesome, wishing for the day Sakamoto returns. Suddenly receiving a call from his boss, Shin reports that he had failed to convince Sakamoto to return, but the boss asks if Shin had eliminated Sakamoto for betraying them. Shin tries to convince the boss to leave Sakamoto alone, but the boss reminds Shin he'll be eliminated and replaced if he fails. That night, Shin washes up, thinking back on his missions with Sakamoto, knowing he should be the one to put his old partner down. Heading back to the store the next day, Shin walks past Aoi, Hana, and the boy playing, apologizing in advance. Upon entering Sakamoto's store, Shin tells Sakamoto he'll be leaving town today, choosing to pull out his gun as he bids farewell to Sakamoto. Seeing Shin pull the trigger, Sakamoto chooses to spit his cough drop as Shin's bullet, deflecting it onto a bag of chips on the counter. Trying to reload, Shin is distracted by an ice cream flung at him, but suddenly realizes that Sakamoto has disappeared. Cautiously scanning the aisles, Sakamoto manages to distract Shin by making some noise in one of the aisles, only to make use of a rubber band and some cough drops to snipe Shin through the shelves. Rushing to evade Sakamoto's cough drops, Shin and Sakamoto catch a glance of each other at the end of the aisle, but Sakamoto tosses a cream puff at Shin, obstructing his vision. Having bought enough time, Sakamoto sneaks up from behind, winding up a torrential kick that sends Shin flying through several shelves, reminding Shin of when he used to train with Sakamoto. As Shin falls unconscious, he suddenly awakens a few hours later, spotting Hana and Aoi relieved to see him awake, learning he had been brought to the second floor of Sakamoto's store. Seeing Sakamoto's loving family, Shin gets weirded out, confused as to why they're serving him a lovely meal even after his assassination attempt. Believing the food to be poisoned, Shin chooses to face the challenge head-on, but instead begins breaking down, grateful to be served such a delicious and hearty meal. Finally understanding why Sakamoto retired, Shin and Sakamoto head outside, prompting Shin to graciously thank Sakamoto and his family for taking care of him. With Sakamoto asking Shin to come again soon, we cut to later that night, where Shin sits before his boss and his gang, begging his boss to let Sakamoto live. The boss and his henchmen scoff at such a pathetic request, reminding Shin that Sakamoto must be eliminated, having abandoned their organization. But Shin offers to give his life for Sakamoto. With the boss accepting Shin's offer, the boss secretly thinks about how gullible Shin is, but having already expected the boss to lie to him, Shin turns his gun on the boss. As Shin begins a shootout with his former organization, we cut to Sakamoto listening in on their conversation, choosing to transform his convenience store into an armory littered with deadly weapons. As Sakamoto opts for a stun gun, we cut back to Shin, who slowly begins dismantling the enemies, switching from his gun to martial arts to dispatch the men. Unfortunately, Shin is caught off guard, struck by a bazooka, but still manages to run for cover. With the men rallying together, the boss reminds everyone that Shin is a psychic, meaning he can read people's minds if they're close enough. Continuing his onslaught, Shin takes out a few more men, realizing he has a single magazine left, ultimately getting struck in the leg by a bullet. Falling onto his knees, Shin is surrounded, finally giving up. Luckily, Sakamoto appears, paralyzing the men surrounding Shin. As the boss orders his men to take out Sakamoto, Sakamoto nonchalantly opens a pair of chopsticks, increasing his speed to knock out the men, all whilst flexing he can catch the bullets with chopsticks. Spotting a man wielding a katana, Sakamoto easily evades, kicking the man aside only to block a spray of bullets with pins, slaying the gunman with said pins. Cleaning up the remaining gunmen, Sakamoto locks onto the boss and his remaining henchmen, running to evade the projectiles only to slay the boss with a single slash. With Shin reminded of why he respects Sakamoto so much, Shin realizes Sakamoto had bugged his gun when he was unconscious and is suddenly offered a job by Sakamoto. Sakamoto says he'll pay Shin 800 yen an hour. Cutting to the next day, where Shin has started on his first day, asking Sakamoto to not eat ramen, especially since they're low on stock. As Hana and Aoi compliment Shin's new apron, Shin makes use of his psychic abilities to help out an elderly lady, but is threatened by Sakamoto to keep their past a secret from the others. Fast at work, Shin restocks the shelves and mans the cash register, cutting to later that day, where Shin praises Sakamoto for slaying all those men. Hearing Shin mention Sakamoto slaying people, Aoi reminds Sakamoto he promised to leave his life of a hitman behind, prompting Sakamoto to reassure Aoi that he dealt non-lethal blows. Angry, Aoi reminds Sakamoto they have a family rule, and if Sakamoto ever breaks the rule, she'll divorce him, scaring Sakamoto. When Shin wonders what this family rule is, Sakamoto silences Shin in his mind, both heading to Niokita Chinatown to pick up some items. Seeing Sakamoto pick up some heavenly pork buns for the whole family, and at half the price, Shin admires Sakamoto for being so family-oriented, but Shin is still curious about Sakamoto's family rule. Refusing to explain anything, the duo continue walking, suddenly spotting a pink-haired girl burst through the window of a high-rise, coincidentally collapsing onto Sakamoto. Although Sakamoto is fine, Sakamoto gets sad seeing his pork buns have been squashed, but our duo suddenly sees several men call out to the pink-haired girl. Introducing herself as Lu Xiaodang, the mystery girl, Lu scoffs at the men's pathetic attempts to catch her, but Shin notices Sakamoto is more sad, thinking about how upset Hana and Aoi will be having no buns to bring home. As the men rush Lu, she begins knocking out the men with her martial arts, something Shin recognizes as Tai Chi, watching as 3 men suddenly surround Lu. Even still, Lu tosses and knocks out 2 of the men, unfortunately captured by the third. Seeing the men prepare to slash at Lu's legs, Sakamoto stops the man's knife with some tongs, breaking them only to put the man to sleep. Seeing an opening, Shin knocks out the man, restraining Lu with a sign, allowing Lu to disarm the final gun-wielding man. knocking him out. As the trio catch their breaths, they suddenly hear an even larger swarm of men chasing after them, forcing Sakamoto to pick Lu up, all three fleeing from the swarm. Elsewhere, we see a henchman reporting that they've failed to capture Lu, pissing Wang off, the CEO of Danshokai Incorporated. Wang reminds everyone he slayed Lu's entire village, and still they failed to capture her. But before Wang can dismiss his men, a knife decapitates his messenger's head. Known as Bacho and Sun He, Wang orders the psychotic brothers to hunt down Lu no matter what, stating that Lu has the key for them to rule over the black market. With the brothers given free rein to slaughter all that gets in their way, we cut back to our trio where Lu tells Shin and Sakamoto about her belonging to the Lu Mafia clan. Lu says she is currently in possession of her family's hidden vault key. But when Shin suggests Lu get rid of such a dangerous key, Lu refuses since her family died protecting the key, remembering the final moments of her clan burning down all whilst her parents beckon Lu to flee with the key. Lu apologizes for getting others involved, leaping away, but before Shin can follow after Lu, Sakamoto holds Shin back. Before Lu disappears, Sakamoto asks if Lu can make pork buns, agreeing to assist Lu, and in exchange Lu must make pork buns for them once they make it out alive. Before Shin can question Sakamoto's judgment, Bacho appears, landing a direct kick on a Sakamoto that sends him flying. Sun scolds Bacho for attacking so barbarically, alerting Shin as to who these monsters are. But Lu says they're twin hitmen that charge high hit rates for their perfect resume of assassinations. On top of things, the brothers have been seen sketching the heads of their victims, something that pleases Bacho since they're so well known. But Sun reminds Bacho they should be more elusive since they're hitmen. Seeing Shin dash in close, Sun easily catches Shin's fist, mocking Shin for acting so emotionally after Sakamoto was defeated. Leaping back, Shin feels bad for those who disrespect Sakamoto, but Bacho takes the chance to blink behind Lu, preparing a lethal slash. Appearing out of nowhere, Sakamoto smashes Bacho into the ground, shocking everyone as Sakamoto's punch tears a hole in the roof they're standing on, making Sun wonder who Sakamoto is. As Sakamoto ignores Sun's questions, Bacho says he'll pay Sakamoto back, all while Sun asks for Lu to hand over the key in exchange for a quick death. Hearing Lu choosing to give her life to protect the key, Sun reveals that her parents said something similar before he slaughtered them, infuriating Lu as she rushes forward. Grabbing and tossing Lu back, Lu is reminded not to get emotional. But Lu says the vault contains her ancestors' legacy, something Lu's father had given his life to protect. Having heard enough, Sun tosses a kunai at Lu, forcing Sakamoto to intercept the blade, asking the brothers to not dictate others' lives. With Lu seeing Sakamoto bleeding from catching the kunai, Lu asks why Sakamoto would go so far to protect her, flashing back to the Christmas season when a younger-looking Sakamoto has brought Aoi a gift. Aoi is angry seeing Sakamoto covered in blood, knowing he had to murder people to get her a gift. Seeing as Sakamoto refuses to change, Aoi chooses to jump from their location, forcing Sakamoto to chase after her, clinging onto her. Luckily, the snow beneath them softened their fall. But Aoi uses the moment to show Sakamoto just like how he cares for Aoi. There are people that care for the people Sakamoto kills, asking Sakamoto to promise to never slay another and instead save people to atone for his past. With Shin reading Sakamoto's mind, he finally realizes what the no-kill rule is, watching as the brothers rush them. As Sakamoto blocks all of Sun's attacks, Shin chooses to evade and dodge all of Bacho's slashes, intriguing the brothers as to who Sakamoto is. Choosing to unveil one of their hidden techniques, both Bacho and Sun fire off a flurry of attacks at Sakamoto, but Sakamoto nonchalantly slips them all, asking for a pain patch having stressed his neck. Before the brothers can unveil another hidden technique, Sakamoto puts Bacho to sleep with a cooking pot, following up by breaking Sun's weapon using a wok. Seeing Shin helping Sakamoto patch up his hand, Sun attempts to target Lu, but Shin had read his mind, binding and tossing Sun back with a rope. For the finishing blow, Sakamoto smashes a refrigerator on his son, tying the two men up as Lu wonders who our duo is. As Sakamoto munches on some crab, We cut over to Wong, who wonders where the brothers are. Yearning for the day he can open the vault before him. Suddenly receiving a delivery, Wong spots the brothers tied up, suddenly restrained by Lu, who says she needs to pay Wong back for all that he's done. A few minutes later, Lu is seen repeatedly punching Wong, exciting Shin as he wants to join in, but Sakamoto prepares to put Shin to sleep. Having had enough, Lu says she shouldn't slay people and instead should live a happy life, choosing to finally unlock the vault with her key. As the trio head inside, they're amazed by the antique relics littered all over the vault. Something Shin reads are valuable items every past leader of the Lu clan treasures. Seeing the item her father left behind, Lu reads that her father had left behind some valuable booze to one day share with Lu, making Lu treasure her family. Sitting down, Sakamoto unveils the squished pork buns, snacking on them as Lu remarks the Japanese buns are pretty tasty. The next morning, Shin sees reports of the aftermath of their brawl with Wand and the brothers, suddenly seeing Sakamoto enter the store exhausted. Seeing Lu enter with an apron, Shin wonders why Lu doesn't just sell her family's vault instead of working. But Sakamoto reminds Shin that he is now part of the family and must follow their family's no-kill rule. At the same time, we see several figures receive a bounty on Sakamoto and Shin, with Sakamoto's bounty valued at 1 billion yen.